This is UFC 305 in Perth, Australia. This weekend, Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the prelims, ending with the main event, talking about each and every fighter's game plan going into the fight. At least what I think their game plan is going to be, and the prediction of the fight versus how it's going to go. Some of these are going to be quick, some of these are going to be a little bit more detailed. Obviously, everyone knows the main event, Izzy and Drickus, so we're going to go through that one in detail. These are fighters, let me remind you. They're not the smartest guys on the world, but sometimes they are. You can tell when a guy has a certain game plan, and you can tell when a guy just goes in there and free balls it. That's my point exactly. Sometimes shit happens where they don't expect it. KOs, trips, ground and pound. It's fighting, okay? I'm just letting you guys know I'm not a fucking professional. People are gonna scrap. Starting with Jack Jenkins and Herbert Burns. I think Jack Jenkins is gonna win the fight. I think he's been off for about almost a year. I think he broke his arm back in... When did you break your arm, bro? September of last year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he tried to reverse the guy, ended up on his arm and breaking it. Before that, he was piecing up Chepe. I remember that because they did go into 2 rounds. Yeah. Anyways, I think he's going to piece up Burns, and I think he's one of the best prospects in the featherweight division coming up. He had a lot of time off and a lot of time to go back and watch film. While Herbert Burns, we all know, he's kind of a quitter. All right, let's go through some of his last fights. Let's see that fucking record. Where are you? 11 wins, 5 losses. Okay. Julio Arce. Come on, bro. He was literally giving up. He wasn't even like getting knocked out, bro. TKO on the ground. We all saw it. He gave up. Okay. Loss from exhaustion, from damage. What the fuck is that? Okay, the one before that. Elbows from crucifix. He gave the guy the fucking crucifix and tapped. Jack Jenkins, first or second round TKO. I believe the leg kicks are going to kill Herbert Burns, and I think if Herbert Burns tries to take down Jack Jenkins, he's going to reverse him. This guy's an Aussie. They have amazing takedown defense. We've seen it with Volk. We've seen it with Dan Oka. Let me not even lie about that one. We've seen it with Izzy. We've seen it with Whitaker. The Aussies have great takedown defense. It's just what they do. I think Jack Jenkins has been training with these guys, and I think he's watched a lot of film, and I think it's going to show in this fight. First round, TKO, starting with the leg kicks, ending with a 1-2 right down the middle. Herbert Burns has no striking defense. I swear, he doesn't even want to be a fighter. That's his only game plan. Take him down. I don't think it's going to work. Next fight. I digress. Luana Santos and Casey O'Neill. Pretty much identical records. I mean, Casey O'Neill has 1 more win and 1 more loss, so that pretty much evens him out. I think Luana Santos is on a streak right now. I think she looked great in her last fight. And I think she's going to get the TKO in the second round. Her striking is really good. We saw that. She did rush into this one. I'm pretty sure it was a late notice fight. Let me check before I fucking speak. She just fought last month at a UFC fight night in Colorado. So she was just at high altitude. She's probably in really good shape, as she looked in really good shape. It was a round 1 submission. Yeah, I think she's on a streak, and I think she's going to get this one. First or second round submission on Casey O'Neill. I think she's going to lead with the hands. She looked a lot better on the feet in her last fight. And I think it's going to show. Brazilians are really streaky fighters. Whenever they put together 1-2 wins, all of a sudden they go on a run. And they look like one of the best athletes in the game until they face a wrestler. It happens with every single fucking Brazilian. I don't see Casey O'Neill winning. I don't think she has it on the feet, and I don't think she has it on the ground to compete with Luana Santos. I really don't. Watch me be wrong about this one. I have a feeling this is going to be totally flip-sided. But hey, I think Luana Santos is better. I think she looks better. I think she strikes better. I think her grappling's better. That's why I'm going to pick her to win. All right. I don't... I don't like either of these guys. I don't know how either of them fight. (16-3) though. It shows he's not taking it real fucking serious. Alright, we're going with Josh Culibao. This guy has 2 guillotine chokes in the first round. How do you lose 2 in the first round, back to back? That just shows you're not working on your game. That's all I'm going to say. Josh Culibao by guillotine, second round. Alright. Junior Tafa versus Walter Taco. I started calling these guys tacos. Walker and his brother, Johnny Walker. These guys don't train at all. We saw that in Johnny Walker's last fight. This guy's built like a fucking middleweight. Same thing as Junior Tafa. It just shows the training deficit in these guys' regiments. It's ridiculous. You guys are heavyweights. You should be built like a fucking heavyweight. Just because you're tall does not mean you're in the fucking heavyweight division, okay? (6'6" in the heavyweight division. When you look like that, let me not even. Fucking Junior Tafa the same way, bro. What is he? 265, 6'3". The juggernaut. I think Junior Tafa is better, personally. I think he has better striking than Walter Walker. I think he's just there to be hit on the feet. I think he kind of stands there a bit silly. He's a little bit crazy like his brother, but his wrestling is shit. His striking is shit, just like his brother's. And I think that's why Junior Tafa is going to piece him up and get the KO in the first or second round. These guys have no chin because they're so fucking tall. We've seen it before. They're not an all-time striker. They're not like Volkov. They wish they were, but they're not. They can't sit on the outside and piece people up. They rush on the inside, and being so fucking tall, it's an overhand right or a liver shot that drops them and then straight to the chin. It happens every fucking time. Alright? That's all I'm going to say about that one. Junior Tafa, first round or second round, KO. I don't even think it's going to be a TKO. I think it's going to be a fucking KO. Alright, on to the next. I digress. Starting with the main card, we got Li Jinglang, the Leech, versus Carlos Prates. I'm pretty sure Carlos Prates just had a fight not too long ago. I remember seeing him recently, 19-6, but he has had a lot of good fights against a lot of good people. He said he was training with Izzy on the Embedded, I believe, a long, long time ago, and he's coming off of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fight win streak. against the Leech, who is a little bit chinny, as we've seen in the past before. 19-8. Split decision loss. Rear naked choke. Lost by decision. And he's been out for a minute too, hasn't he? Yeah, cancel bout, cancel bout. His last fight was 2022. No way you've been out that long. Have you really? And this guy's putting together wins back to back to back. I'm going by Carlos Prates, leading with the striking. I think he's going to back the Leech up. Li Jingliang. I think he's going to back Li Jingliang up with the striking. I think he's really confident, and he's a master of distance, as we've seen in his last couple fights. They've all been knockouts, a flying knee, a straight left. They've looked great. I think he's going to piece him up, and it's because he's been so fucking consistent, fighting over and over and over, compared to Li Jingliang. It's not his fault. He just hasn't been as consistent. The ring rust is going to show in this one, and I feel like Carlos Prates is going to shine and get another highlight KO. And that fucking breaks my heart because I love the Leech. At least he'll get to wear his suit. Anyways, we like when guys are good, right? Not when we just favor the guys. There's no fucking bias. Carlos Prates is the better fighter, and he should win this one. I think his kickboxing is going to show, and he's going to put on a fucking clinic. First round KO. I think Li Jingliang is going to come out strong, and he's going to get pieced up because he's trying to get over those nerves. And I think it's going to be a rough night for the Leech. First or second round KO for Carlos Prates. All right, Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I think Jairzinho actually works on his game. Unlike Tai, we've seen Tai struggle on the ground multiple times. That shows that he doesn't work on that. He likes to stand and bang, and we used to say, yeah, but you can't finish him. No, well, now you can. I don't know what happened. His chin is not as strong as it used to be. It might have been Pavlovich that destroyed it. It's not just the chin, though, you know. There's a lot of guys who have no chin that fight great. Neil Magny's one of them. They fight great. They know how to fight. Tai Tuivasa does not put work into his game. We see it in his physique. We see it when he's in the off-season, when he doesn't have a fight booked. He's partying, he's drinking, and there's no shame in that as long as you put in the work in the training room. We saw him and Alex Pereira spar. Alex Pereira was piecing him up. Without leg kicks. They said no leg kicks. And he was piecing him up. I understand Alex is a high-class striker. But what are you doing, bro? No defense. There's no defense. And he just goes in there and stands and bangs. And that's how he wins. And that's probably how he's going to win this one. Even though I'm not going to pick him. I think Jairzinho has more ways to win. I think he's better outside on the edge. Little tip-tap shots. And I think he's going to take him into the second round. And I think it's going to be a straight right or left. It's going to knock down Tai Tuivasa. And Rozenstruik's going to be in TKO position. Ground and pound. I don't see it going well for Tai. I think him just not being as consistent and training as hard is going to show in this one. Plus, Jairzinho's on a 2-fight win streak. As I said before, I think a lot of these guys from South America are very streaky, Brazil and whatever. I think when they get a couple wins, all of a sudden things start clicking and they start firing on all cylinders. There is no takedown threat in this one. There is just stand and bang. It's heavyweight. It's not getting out of the first round. Jairzinho by first round or second round TKO. First round or beginning of the second round because Tai has no gas tank. We've seen it in the past. Alright, on to the next one. I can't wait. I mean, I've been so excited for these fights, and they're finally happening. I don't know why the UFC didn't put more promo into this shit. It bothers me, man, because a lot of these guys need it. Like Matus, he needs promo. He's a great fighter in the lightweight division. He's a wrestler, and he chain wrestles over and over and over and over and over. He's a little bit like Merab, but in the 155-pound division. He has better striking than Merab, let me be honest. But there's a lot of fucking similarities. There just are. He has no chin like Merab. If he gets touched around the jaw, he drops. And then he wrestles his way back into the fight and just doesn't let go. There's this much space between Gamrot and his opponent at all times. When he decides to strike, we see the deficit between him and a kickboxer. But if he can get a hold of you, it's over for the round. Pretty much. He's very good at chain wrestling. Dan Hooker, we've seen in the past, struggle with chain wrestling and struggle with a good wrestler. Don't get me wrong, he's great on the feet. But Dan Hooker's had a lot of time off. And in a recent interview, he was talking about his mental health and how he's been focusing on other things other than fighting. And I think Gamrot's been doing the opposite. I think he's been in the training room with Poirier training. I think he wanted to be the backup for Islam and Sarukian. He trained Poirier for the Islam fight, and we saw how good he was at takedown defense. Now, Dan Hooker's not a takedown artist. He's a striker. I get that. He punches hard, and he usually gets the finish. I feel like Mateusz has more ways to win. Obviously, Dan Hooker wants to keep it on the feet and strike. I think he's going to look for the straight 1-2. That usually is what drops Gamrot when he got dropped by RDA. And what was the fight before that? RDA dropped him, and he won both fights. Obviously, he came back into him and grabbed on and wrestled his way back in. Fiziev and Rafael both. They were piecing him up, man. They dropped him. I remember those two fights. When the fuck is RDA gonna retire? He's so fucking annoying. RDA is so fucking annoying. Anyways. I think Mateusz Gamrot's gonna come in there and chain wrestle. I think he's gonna play the fucking striking battle for 30 seconds, and he's gonna grab a hold of a leg, and he's gonna chain wrestle, and he's gonna take down Dan Hooker, and it's gonna be a long fucking night for Dan Hooker. I wouldn't be surprised if Mateusz actually gets the finish, because Hooker has really long limbs, he has long arms, and he has long legs. His torso is this fucking big. We've seen in the past Dan Hooker not work on his wrestling. He's been out for a year with an arm injury, which is great because he usually fights back to back to back. But in your interview, you're talking about other things other than fighting, showing you're not dedicated to the training room. Well, Mateusz has been grinding in the training room. I'm pretty sure he had a fight in February. And then now again, I think he's going to wrestle fuck Dan Hooker. I don't think Dan Hooker has a great... He has a chin, I'll give him that. He can take a good shot, and he's good to go into battle. Mateusz is not. If they're in a straight striking battle, I would go with Dan Hooker all day. But he's not great at distance management, and against a wrestler like Mateusz Gamrot, who's not going to stop trying to take you down, it just doesn't work well. I got Mateusz Gamrot, and I think he's going to get the finish this one. I do. I think it's going to be a second or third round submission. I just don't think Dan Hooker's that good of a fighter. I hope he proves me wrong, but I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see the dedication like your other fellow Zealanders. I digress. Shit stresses me out, man. I like this sport too fucking much. Alright. Kara France versus Steve Erceg. Oh, Michael. Michael. I think he's going to kill Kara France in the ring. I think it's going to be a murder. I think it's going to be a second round finish on the feet. I think he's going to knock him out cold. I don't think Kara France is that good. I think Steve Erceg is an amazing striker. I think he's very good on the feet. and I think it's going to show tremendously. I think Steve Erceg is going to lead the striking battle. He's going to take the center just like he did against Pantoja, and I think it's going to be a straight 1-2 because Kai Kara-France goes for the big overhand right and he leaves his chin wide open. And Steve Erceg is very good about pulling back. He did it against Pantoja a lot, who also throws a big overhand right and falls into the double leg. Steve Erceg did great. I don't see the takedown being a fucking threat here. He showed how good he was on the ground against Pantoja. I think this is going to be a fucking clinic by my man Steve Erceg, the real champion at 125. Kai Kara-France, he's been out for a minute. I'm pretty sure he had injuries. Yeah, when was your last fight, fool? Manel Cap was a canceled bout in September of last year. Amir Abazi, he lost in a split decision in June of last year. Yeah. He's been out for basically, 2 years and a month he's been out. And he's coming off of 2 losses and 2 canceled bouts. His only good win is Cody Garbrandt, who has no chin. He lost against Brandon Moreno twice and Amir Abazi, which he should have won that fight because Amir Abazi sucks. I got Steve Erceg by second round finish. I really do. I think he's going to piece him up, and I think it's going to be a fucking clinic. Steve Erceg is good, and he's been consistent, and he just fought for the fucking belt, and he should have won. This is the same thing as the other fight where I said Li Jingliang versus Carlos Prates, someone who's been out of the game for a minute, coming back, trying to be aggressive, and they're going to get pieced up by a striker who's ready and who's been active and who's been in the ring, tested over and over again against good opponents. Second round TKO by Steve Erceg for sure. This one I am confident about. Watch me be wrong. It's fucking MMA, ladies and gentlemen. Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. Okay, this is kind of a tough one to predict because they both went against Strickland, but they both had very different approaches against Strickland. Izzy wanted to counter-strike and back up the whole time, while Dricus actually wanted to push the pace and get inside of Strickland's face, which I think is the best way to beat Strickland. If you're going to fight him, you can't let him walk you down, because then he just finds his range and he hits you with a jab over and over and over and over and over. We've seen Strickland struggle when someone tries to push the pace against him and not stop. That's the thing with Strickland. You have to have the gas tank to be ready to go for 5 rounds, walking forward, not backwards. Pereira did it, and he stopped him in the first round. Dricus did it, and he stopped him in a fucking decision. He looked really good. I think if Dricus can mix up the takedowns, I think he will finish Israel Adesanya, because I don't think Israel's been training that hard for this fight. I think Dricus is healthy, and he's had a lot of time off for this one. Compared to his last couple fights, where he didn't have a lot of time off. It was back to back to back, and he was going into them with injuries, just like Israel Adesanya. The issue is Izzy was forced to take this amount of time off because he did so bad against Strickland. I don't think it's fair that he got the title shot, but I think we saw him get outworked by Strickland, and that's... I'm not going to take all the credit away from Strickland, but I am going to say Izzy had back-to-back-to-back fights, which can drain you. Training room, over and over and over, it can drain you. I get it. I think that's why he performed so bad against Strickland. It's like he could get nothing going. That was a particularly bad performance by Izzy. Personally, that's my opinion. I think Strickland's a really good fighter. I just think Izzy was also a really bad performer that night that made Strickland shine. Anyways, I digress. We saw Dricus do well against Strickland and push the pace and be ready to fight, compared to Izzy, who backed up and took the counters and the 1-2s right on the face while he was trying to counter, I think if Dricus can mix up the takedowns and grab a high single leg or high crotch off of Izzy's lead leg, because we know Izzy stands pretty wide. I think it will serve him very well, and I think that takedown threat will make Izzy gun shy. I feel like Digress has more ways to win on the feet, on the ground, compared to Izzy. I think he's stronger than Izzy. I think he has better ground control than Izzy. I think he's better on the ground than Izzy. But his striking just looks so bad, and we haven't seen Digress go against a really good counter striker like Izzy. That's the only threat. I don't know why Izzy's good whenever he's a contender, but when he's a champion, he fights very safe. When he's a contender, he goes for it. And we don't know how he's going to come back from this one. I think we see him retire if he doesn't get the belt back. I just think that's how Izzy is. I do. I could see Izzy throwing a flying knee up the middle. I could see him trying to back up and counter with a left hook or right hook, just like he did with Whitaker in their first fight, because they both lead in with the straight overhand right. Digress he's a fucking tank, and I don't know how much power Izzy's gonna come into this one with. I got Digress by third or fourth round, ground and pound, and I think it's gonna be an early stoppage where Izzy's complaining to the referee. I do. I just think Digress has more ways to win. I think he's better in more areas of the game than Izzy is. I think Izzy's a way better striker, and that's the problem I see with this one. I got Digress. Third or fourth round, ground and pound. I digress. We'll see how this one goes. These are my final predictions for the card. Let's go through them one more time. Jack Jenkins, Luana Santos, Josh Kulabau, Junior Tafa, Carlos Prates, Jairzinho Rosenstruik, Mateusz Gamrot, Steve Erceg, and Digress. I digress. We'll see how this one goes. UFC 305, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Please comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts.